All right, hello everyone. If you guys can hear me, and yeah, so I am Josh Lee, also known as Dojmos. I work at Tendermint as ecosystem analyst, and I've also co-founded Chainapsis, which is a company that's building a browser extension wallet service called Keplr, and we're also helping to develop um, the Cosmos SDK implementation of interchain accounts for ICS 27. So today I'm going to talk about mostly Kepler and a little bit about interchain accounts as well, kind of recapping where we've been and where we're going. And yeah, so let's get right into it. Um, so so let's start off with Chainapsis in 2020. We're actually a very young company. We started in May of 2020. So we're a little over 6 months and are a very small but very strong team of two. One is Tony Yoon, who is my co-founder and a dev wizard, and the other part of that is me. Um, Kepler Wallet is actually a project that started out of Everett, which um, aimed to build a liquid staking platform on Cosmos, but we kind of actually split ways, and half the team, essentially me and Tony, decided to keep Kepler going, while the other went to Terra to build Anchor. And our goal is to build the most versatile and flexible wallet for developers and users. Um, I think for a lot of people, the browser is the internet. And what I mean by that is when people say, I'm just going to go, do something on the internet, the first thing they do is just click on Chrome, Brave, or Firefox. Definitely not Internet Explorer. But that's kind of like the first response to, what the internet is. Like for everyone, just experiences the internet through the browser, although the internet is a lot more than, just the browser. And I think that goes a lot of ways to talk about what the end user application is in the context of very high level technology. And we always need to kind of have that in mind when we're thinking about blockchains and its end user interfaces as well. So the question that I always ask myself is, can our wallet be the interchain? Can Kepler be the gateway to the interchain? And when you know everyone wants to access the interchain, uh, the first response is, okay, so I need to go download Kepler. Just as when you get a fresh computer, if it's not a Mac, the first thing you do is download Chrome, right? Let's talk about the Kepler wallet a little bit. So I personally think I have one of the best jobs in Cosmos, and that's because I think uh, creating a wallet is a very meaningful job in that we're connecting users to blockchains, and a lot of times we get too deep into the technicalities of the core technology of blockchains, the SDK, the consensus algorithm, the staking. But at the end of the day, if no one is using an application, there is very little uh, reason for that blockchain to exist. And for me, I kind of see my job as by creating a wallet that users can access, and for us to connect blockchains and users, we're essentially kind of injecting meaning into why and what people are building using blockchain tech. And this year has been absolutely tremendous. So we've kind of like alpha launched Keplr in February and March. And since Chainapsis is founded in May, we've actually, our user base has increased by 33 times, which is tremendous. We started with 2 or 3 networks back then, and now we have 7 natively supported networks. And I say 7 plus because we've shipped a new feature where you can add new networks, and I'll actually get into that a little more. But I think this goes to attest on how much the ecosystem has grown, as well as as well as kind of how flexible and versatile our wallet has become in the past 6 or 7 months. Um, and I think when a lot of people think about wallets, they kind of get stuck into this mindset that a wallet exists to manage assets, which is partially true. And I think that's kind of an old paradigm, though, as seen by MetaMask, is I think a wallet is a fundamental core infrastructure that connects users to the blockchain. Um, while most users will be using that to manage their crypto assets, um, there's a lot more to blockchains than the assets that exist there, such as DeFi, right? And for me, I see wallets as being the bridge between blockchains and its users. And I think this is pretty significant because, like I mentioned earlier, a blockchain without a user is it's just very fancy tech that serves no purpose. Whereas for your blockchain application to have reason to exist, to have an impact at the end of the day, someone at the other side of the table needs to use it and experience the value that that blockchain application generates. And for Keplr, I think it's kind of our role to kind of provide that. And we're kind of serving both sides of the table, right? We're on the one hand, we're helping the developers to reach users, and on the other side of the table, we're also helping users to actually experience the blockchain itself in a lot more approachable, user-friendly way, rather than having to go through command lines, which is very scary for most people, to be honest. So yeah, how do we get there, and what have we done so far, right? Our goal, I mean, I think because we're such a small team, our focus has just been very simple. It's one, we always ship features as quickly as we can, although we do test. And the features that we ship will always evolve around the core idea that whatever we do must improve the interchain experience for both the developers who are creating the applications and the users that are using the applications. So Keplr in the past 6 or 7 months has been a lot of features that's been added. And I personally think I'm really proud of the work that our team has done, considering we're a team of 2 people. I think we've made more progress than any other wallets out there. And yeah, let's just kind of go through some of the features that we've added, right? So we started with three networks early. I think it was Kava and Cosmos early on. And we've added Secret Network, Akash, Starname, Cyber, Straight Edge, and yeah, a lot more. So, and we've recently shipped governance. We realized that when Dooney was sunsetting, there wasn't a good web interface out there for people to vote. And that's a pretty important feature in blockchain where proof of stake means, it's governed by the stakeholders, and for the wallet to provide utility beyond the economics of staking, I think is a pretty fundamental and needed feature out there. We've also added token support. So something that we worked with Secret Network on was to support the SNP20 standardized Secret Network secret WASM smart contract tokens. We also support Cosmos-SDK coins, and you can actually experience this when you use Keplr wallet with eMoney Network, because they're a stablecoins platform. They have stablecoins on top of the staking token, and those are all natively supported through Keplr. And we've also worked with the Confio team, who is building the Cosmos-WASM smart contracting virtual machine, as well as the CW20 token standard, to have that supported, which was really fun. And this work was actually funded by the Interchain Foundation, which is really awesome. And yeah, and another thing is we also support connecting to web apps. So, when you go to uniswap.exchange with MetaMask on, the first thing they ask you is, would you like to connect your wallet to the front end interface? And this wasn't, I don't think, a feature that was very well supported within Cosmos, and we do now. Also, you can go to third-party applications that are built by people that's not us, and you can still use Keplr Wallet, and you can actually have permission settings so that they can't just take your address and do something malicious about it. You can actually set the permissions where um, if you go to a website, you can decide whether to connect or not. And you can connect to any Cosmos SDK blockchains that are live. So I'm actually going to cover that in a little more detail because I think this is the most significant feature that we've shipped this year so far. But beyond that, I think signing transaction messages that are other than the ones that are kind of the vanilla Cosmos SDK messages. And what I mean by that is, sending tokens, staking assets, and voting. We basically enabled where you can kind of create your own blockchain applications that have transaction logic that is unique to your blockchain applications. And although it will be shown as an unknown message, because we can't really know what every single transaction message that exists in Cosmos SDK is, you can people can go to the detail view and see the transaction message itself and sign it, right? And this is crucial because we are not basically kind of putting a bound on what you can do with Keplr. Keplr is just an infrastructure to help users sign messages. And with that, we kind of open the doors for more blockchain application experimentation to happen and use Keplr as part of the infrastructure to connect the applications to the user. We've also added smart contract support in terms of the interface support, and a lot of the work here has been in collaborations and also with help from Confio team who's building Cosmos-WASM. So you can basically, execute smart contracts, Cosmos-WASM smart contracts, and use Keplr for that, and you can see what smart contract, the smart contract address you're interacting with, what you're doing somewhat. And that's really cool because I think that's one of the ways that I think Cosmos is going to scale in 2021 with a lot more of these smart contracting platforms, not just being modules that are being built, but actual features that are going to be shipped into mainnet. We also have ENS name resolution support. So we don't have an interface for you to register your Cosmos address to the ENS name resolver yet. We were going to work on that, and the whole DeFi gas insane gas prices happen. We're like, okay, we have a lot more things that we could do now rather than having to kind of wait until gas prices go down. But if you have your Cosmos address registered to ENS, you can actually just send that. So if you want to send some tokens, you can just use Keplr and send tokens to dojmos.eth, which is connected to my Cosmos account, which is really cool. And during Game of Zones, we experimented with IBC support, where you could do cross-chain token transfers. And I believe we were one of the earliest, interface-based web wallets that allow you to do that. And I think a lot of people got to kind of try out the IBC interchain experience firsthand by using that. And right now we're also working on Stargate Protobuf transaction support. And while we're still making iterations, a lot of those features seem to be working, and we're almost ready to kind of finalize on that. So we're almost Stargate ready. And like I mentioned, my favorite feature of the year was the feature for Keplr to automatically add new chains. So one of the hardest things about Cosmos has been the fact that each of these chains are sovereign and independent. So you don't have that MetaMask-like experience where you just have one wallet and you can interface with any dApps that are deployed on it. Whereas for Cosmos, it's been just like, it felt like separate chains. It felt like separate applications that existed on different blockchains. And we wanted to kind of close that gap a little bit. So now front-end interfaces can basically ask users, it's like, hey, we have this chain. Would you like to add this to Keplr? And all they have to do, all the user has to do is just approve, and that blockchain gets added to Keplr. And this kind of extends the usability of interfacing with a lot of different sovereign blockchain applications within Cosmos. And even for testnets, right, it's pretty awesome because you don't have to kind of like go build your own wallet. You can just kind of set up a very basic front end interface and get a, Keplr to support your testnet like immediately. So this kind of unblocks the bottleneck of scaling the interchain UX. And this has been a really cool feature because we're seeing it being used in hackathons. We're seeing it used by smaller chains. So that's been really cool. In terms of other user experience benefits, like this is on the left is kind of how we shipped very early on. We don't have a designer, but we've made a lot of improvements in terms of kind of visualizing. We also have Tor support, which means users can create a Cosmos account using their Google account, and they don't even have to deal with mnemonics. All you have to do is just sign in with the same Google account, and Taurus kind of resolves that account management part for you, which is a lot easier than users having to deal with the mnemonics directly, which, sometimes you do want to do that. We also allow ledger support, which means, ledgers can also access all the features that Keplr provides, such as interacting with smart contracts, doing arbitrary transaction signing and things like that. And yeah, and that should have been what's for 2021. In terms of our vision and where we're going, to be honest, I think our goal overall remains the same. It's to ship features that improve interchain experience. Although this feels a lot more significant now as Stargate starts to roll out and IBC becomes ready, and a lot more blockchains are hitting mainnet, right? So a few things that we're doing in 2021. So the first thing is we're ditching the extension, but in some ways we're not at the same time. So let me go into the details. So while we're working on Keplr extension, we realized that browser extensions are a pain in the ass to work with. There's a lot of things that you can and can't do, and a lot of times you don't really have a way to kind of manage some of the more granular, detailed features and such. So where we're going with this is that we see Keplr extension as being a signing mechanism for a lot of the wallet interface. But right now where Keplr extension is, it's kind of the wallet itself. And we want to separate out some of the wallet's functionalities from the extension. So the extension can remain in the form of a way to sign transactions, but a lot of the logic for the wallet can be abstracted out as a separate web service. And this just feels a lot more fluent in terms of user experience. And one thing that we can do in terms of that is creating like an embeddable modal system similar to Web3 Connect, where you can select different signing options, such as, Wallet Connect, using a ledger, and, even the Keplr extension itself. And like I mentioned, we see a lot more applications hitting mainnet now. And while it is true that most people use these blockchain applications on a computer, I think being able to kind of access these through from a mobile-based wallet is also important. So we'll be working on adding Wallet Connect support as a signing option, and we're kind of exploring the idea of a Keplr mobile wallet where you can sign these kind of like Web3 transaction types natively within the mobile wallet, but that's kind of still under discussion. And another thing that we're focusing on in 2021 will be flexible key management. And so one of the things that I see are happening is there's a lot more flexibility coming to the core stack of the Cosmos SDK. One of it is subkeys / group keys, where you can abstract a lot of these account functionalities into different compartments. So you can just create a key that will only, allow you to manage staking, and you can have a separate key that could manage the sending, and you can have a separate key that allows you to vote in governance proposals. And this is pretty important because, voting for a governance proposal doesn't have as much economic value as sending 1,000 atoms, right? But because we're right now, like, there's no way to kind of separate these out. Uh, we're always opting for the safest option where we're having to ask the users every single time. It's like, are you sure you want to do this? Please put your password in. And it just feels very clunky because, like, I just want to vote. It's like, all I should be doing is just kind of hit vote and it should work automatically. But right now we're kind of having to ask users permission each time this happens just to be safe. And some of these new features in terms of key management should provide that. Another thing is interchain accounts, which is really cool because this means you might be able to kind of like automate what an account can do. And I'll get into that. I'll get into a little more detail later, and as well as Wallet Connect, which would allow you to kind of manage your wallet not just from a like an extension, but maybe from a mobile wallet as well. And you can maybe have separate permissions for your mobile wallet than your extension or your ledger. So that's really cool. And another thing is Interchain UX. So we know IBC is coming. We know it's almost here. But what does that even mean? Like, I don't think this is a paradigm, like this is a paradigm shift where no one really knows the answers to because no one even knows what it's going to look like. And this is a question I have is like, what is Interchain UX? Like, what should it look like? Which is pretty terrifying. But at the same time, that's kind of cool because it's like we're trying to solve a problem that no one has actually even like started thinking about. So like, how do we show the like IBC interface and what should the interaction look like? How should the relayer be explained to the users and how does the user interact with it? And these are some components that's going to make or break the success of the whole vision of the interchain, because we can have the interchain of 1,000 blockchains, but if it's a 1,000 blockchains that are very hard to use, it's not going to be one coherent ecosystem. Whereas for us, we want that to feel very seamless. We want to provide the tools that allow you to kind of manage one blockchain's applications, transactions, as simple as managing different smart contracts that are deployed on Ethereum as well. So we're kind of thinking on that, and we want to be able to kind of ship these new user experience paradigms that will simplify that for the users a lot better. And Interchain UX, like I mentioned, it's not just for the users, it's also for the developers as well, because they're also the ones that are using Keplrs in some ways, because they're connecting. Keplr is a way for them to kind of publish their applications to the users, right? And this means that we just need to work on better documentation, which is something that we haven't been able to do in the past 6 or 7 months. And we're hoping to improve on that in 2021. And yeah, just better graphical user interfaces so that users aren't confused when they're seeing a bunch of numbers pop up. So yeah, and maybe even built-in DeFi and more application-specific transaction support within Keplr. So you don't have to go to 5 different websites to use a blockchain. You can just kind of use a lot more of these features, whether in the extension or through a kind of like a streamlined single access point to a lot of these interchain applications. And yeah, interchain accounts for Cosmos-SDK. Yeah, it's really cool because I think the work for this, the specking work started sometimes in last year, where Tony and I kind of worked together on brainstorming some ideas, specking it out, working with Chris and June to get feedback as well as other people, and finalizing the spec. And now we've basically built the thing. And so the whole idea of the interchain accounts is that you have a zone that's controlling an account on another zone. So the blockchain is essentially the account, and the account is the blockchain. It's kind of like having a robot which has an account in a different zone, and you just kind of tell the robot what to do, and the robot will kind of do exactly what you tell it to do for this robot account. And this kind of allows for more composability, flexibility with what you can do with IBC. And we're hoping to, I'm not saying hoping to, we're going to be shipping a testnet for the interchain accounts during the Big Bang 3 testnet, which has been organized by Tendermint, Region Network, also with a ton of help from Neil from Vitwit team as well. So once phase 3 hits, we're hoping to kind of ship interchain accounts. And this is going to kind of look like a multi-chain test set where you're going to have a central blockchain where you can create new interchain accounts there, and you can join by spinning up a zone, and you can have these interchain accounts that you can kind of do whatever you want with. So that's pretty cool. And we're also exploring what you can do with interchain accounts in the context of IBC solo machines. Like, could a wallet just be an IBC solo machine that manages an interchain account? As well as another thing that came up in the discussions were cross-chain smart contract calls. So like Ethermint testnet is up, Cosmos-SDK is also happening, and maybe interchain accounts, I like to call it as a poor man's IBC composability tool. It's not the best, most ideal way to do composability for IBC, but it kind of gets 70-80% of the stuff that you need to do in a very simple manner. So we're also kind of thinking about how you can do cross-chain smart contract calls, and I think this also opens the doors for interchain DeFi. And we've been thinking of how can we incorporate this into Keplr and how Keplr manages the account, where rather than having to manage 10 different addresses across 10 different chains, maybe there's a way for one account to manage 10 accounts, and from the user's perspective, all they're doing is interfacing with one account, but this one account has kind of like a remote access to all these accounts on other blockchains as well. So yeah, that's another thing that you should be on the lookout for in 2021. And the last thing I want to emphasize, and I've been thinking a lot about, is like, where does the value of a wallet come from? And I think this is a pretty big question, because we can we can ship out some of the best features out there, but at the end of the day, a wallet is a service that is very symbiotic to the ecosystem that it serves. And for our wallet to have value, I think it also means that we depend on the Cosmos ecosystem growing and shipping a lot of these new applications. So in some ways, we're really thankful to see a lot more growth in terms of blockchains that are shipping, a lot more use cases that are coming out. And on the other side of that, we want to make sure that the wallet is not the blocker for the growth of the ecosystem. So it's a very symbiotic relationship, and we're really excited to see what 2021 has in mind in terms of having IBC, having a lot more smart contracts, and having a lot more sovereign blockchain applications that are built on Cosmos ecosystem, on the Cosmos SDK, and maybe not even the Cosmos SDK, but are connected using IBC. So yeah, I'm not sure if I have time to take questions, but that will be it. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't look at some of the questions.
So there are some questions in the Ask a Question tab. I think we have enough time to tackle a few.
Multi-sig, yeah, that's a pretty important feature, pretty simple one. I think we're a little bit, we've been blocked on the fact that we only have 2 people working, and we've been trying pretty hard to onboard new people as well. But yeah, multi-sig, absolutely, because that's kind of in line with more flexible key management, and we should probably have that by first quarter of 2021, I believe. And yeah, what were some of the surprising, unexpected things you discovered regarding user experience that builders in their space should know? And what should user-facing projects understand in order to get 33 times user growth? So I think in terms of the user experience, I think one of the most difficult thing that we've realized is that you need to be very closely in sync with what's happening in the ecosystem for you to actually make any improvements on it. Like if we weren't aware that subkeys and group keys were being built, we wouldn't have uh, our roadmap kind of have support these features in Keplr. And that's kind of funny because like you can like the core engineers can ship out some of the best user experience features, but if a wallet doesn't adopt it, then it's kind of pointless, right? It's just like very fancy like tech porn. It's like, hey, we built something, but like it doesn't mean anything for the users. And um, it's just kind of always having in the context that like you are the bridge between some of the most brilliant engineers in the world and also having the context of what would the user want and how can we um, filter some of these kind of very techie ideas and technologies back to the users. And yeah, in terms of 33 times user growth, I don't know. To be honest, I think we've kind of hacked it in some ways where I think getting 33 times growth in from a wallet perspective is a lot easier than 33x from an application perspective. So yeah, I guess I don't really have a clear answer to that. Um, one of the and the next question is biggest challenges UX wise is that iOS banned Web3 enabled browsers. Do you have any ideas about how to add custom dApp functionalities other than the browsers? Uh, for example, maybe modules for wallets. I can say I add the Kava CDP Keplr module and add Kava hard staking Keplr module, and just as easy as it is to deploy smart contracts to a chain. It should be to deploy a UI to a wallet. So yeah, this I think goes back to our whole goal of abstracting a lot of these wallet functionalities outside of the extension. So it's a pretty tough call because we want to keep our open sourceness where anyone can fork our projects and build on top of it. But from a user's perspective, I think having a very, I don't know if centralized is the right phrase for it, but kind of a centralized like interface where you can manage a lot of these functionalities from a web app is a lot better than kind of like chopping, having all of these features into an extension, which might be banned because one of these functionalities just goes against, iOS's Apple Store policies or something. So for us, I think we're trying to build a lot of these functionalities into a web service rather than an iOS like native app, just because a lot of the risks there. Obviously, I think maybe some of these functionalities might be supported better on I don't know, like a desktop-based environment than it would be on a mobile-based environment. But yeah, ideally, you should be able to kind of access these as part of the web service that Keplr is preparing, and you should be able to, yeah, kind of sign however you want to, and and this also kind of goes with the whole idea of um, more signing options mean that maybe there's 5 signing options and 2 of these aren't supported from a mobile wallet, and when all 5 of these are supported, um, you can't access the entire thing. But if we're kind of chopping this up and kind of serving this in little teacups, then yeah, more people should be able to access it and provide more flexibility on what you can do. So yeah, I guess that's it if there are no more questions.
Awesome. This was a really great talk. Really appreciate your time. We're going to transition to our next session now then.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.